Welcome back to another episode of Lessons in Leverage. I'm your host, Spencer Lowe, and today we're diving into a topic that touches every aspect of our lives: choice and consequence. In this episode titled Choose Your Hard, we'll uncover the myth that we often face an easy versus hard choice and reveal the truth. We're usually choosing between short-term, optional difficulties and long-term, unavoidable pains. We'll explore how this concept applies to both personal health and professional life. Whether it's sticking to a diet and exercise routine or having tough conversations at work, making the hard choice now can lead to greater happiness, freedom, and options down the road. On the flip side, avoiding these initial challenges often results in much tougher, inescapable pains later on. So if you're navigating decisions that feel daunting, you won't want to miss this episode. Let's get into it.
Welcome to Lessons in Leverage, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of success. We'll help you unlock the secrets of leverage so you can amplify your impact in the world. Here is your host, Spencer Lowe.
Sometimes we like to delude ourselves or lie to ourselves and think that we're choosing between something that's hard and something that's much easier. And the truth is actually much more simple than that. We're usually choosing between upfront initial pain and long-term enforced pain. The upfront pain is usually optional. The long-term pain is usually enforced. Let's use a couple examples here. Think about your physical health. If you ignore your physical health, you eat poorly, you don't exercise, and you gain a lot of weight, and you find yourself in an unhealthy state, that's really hard. You end up in a state where now it's hard to do things you want to do. It's hard to be active. You're going to pay for medical bills. There's all these consequences you don't have a choice on. And your life is very literally much harder because of it. It's also hard to diet and to put a plan in place for exercise and to control the things that go into your body, to go buy organic ingredients, source clean water, to not eat processed foods, to avoid sugars, to all this stuff, right? There's all these things that it's like, man, there seems like there's a billion things to do. It's so hard to be healthy. It is. It actually is hard to be healthy. The whole system is against you. But is it harder to be healthy or is it harder to be unhealthy? The truth is that typically it's much harder to be unhealthy and has much larger consequences for a much longer period of time. And they're not optional. You find yourself stuck and trapped by the decisions you made before. And so when you're facing the initial decision of, do I diet, do I exercise, do I make changes to get healthier? Yeah, that feels like a hard decision. But you're not choosing between doing it or not doing it. You're choosing between doing something hard now that gives you more options, more flexibility, more health, and more happiness, or doing something hard later that doesn't give you any of those things, just makes your life worse. Both are hard. In work, it's the same way. You might think, oh, it's really hard having this conversation with the client right now because, they might not be happy about it, or this might be news or surprising to them. Yeah, it might be hard. But what's much harder is not having the conversation, getting to the end of the project, and now finding yourself in a really tough situation with very few options. If you choose to do the hard thing up front, everything else gets easier, has more options, and is better for you. If you avoid the hard thing, you end up in a much harder situation without choices, and it is imposed upon you. In a worst case scenario, if you really screw things up bad enough, you could even lose your job. If you didn't tell the customer the truth, you lied and then harmed the customer because you were so scared of having a conversation up front, that could ultimately cost you your job. So that's a serious consequence that could happen, when in reality, having the hard conversation was not that big of a deal. There's very few things that'll get you fired on the first time assault, but one of them is hiding problems and, not taking responsibility for them. If you hide, you don't take responsibility, and then it blows up, that's a real problem here, because we do not believe in that. We believe in surfacing problems, addressing them head on, giving feedback. We are a transparent, high accountability culture. You can screw things up really bad, and if you just take ownership for it and talk about it, we can fix it. But if you hide things and bury things and do things in the dark, it's gonna long-term hurt your career in a pretty serious way. So the initial decision, when you're choosing between the hard thing and what seems like the easy road is guaranteed to be harder. So when you're faced with a decision, make sure you really think about, if I take what seems to be the easier decision, what's the hard later? This is a good way to counterbalance your brain and get it to really choose. And so in the moment, don't choose between, do I want that cinnamon roll or do I not? Choose between, if I eat this cinnamon roll, does it set me on a trajectory to be out of shape, unhealthy, etc.? Is this part of a trajectory that I'm on? If it's an exception, that's one thing. But if I'm doing this regularly, am I moving towards getting less healthy and less happy? Or by not eating it, do I give myself more options of things I can eat, enjoy, and stay healthy and enjoy a really healthy life? Make sure you take both decisions all the way out to what the long-term consequences are so that you can really weigh the price you're paying either now or in the future. And I can guarantee you the majority of the time, the future price costs more, it's enforced upon you, and it doesn't come with the upsides that the short-term hard choice does. Short-term hard choice has happiness on the other side of it, has freedom, has options, has possibilities. Choose your hard, and when in doubt, choose the hard now, not the enforced hard later.
Hey, before you go, I have a small request. Our mission is to empower as many people as possible to maximize their potential through the power of leverage. Could you help us in this mission by leaving a review on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube? And if you know just one person who would benefit from today's episode, would you please share it with them? Your support means the world to us, and we are thrilled to have you in the community. Thank you for being a part of our journey and helping us grow. You can find show notes for today's show and past shows at lessonsinleverage.com, which also has links to connect with me personally and connect with our various podcast channels across your favorite social networks. A big thanks to Solve.cloud, who sponsored this episode. They're a group of expert consultants that help SaaS and financial services companies to implement, optimize, and manage Salesforce.com. They can help you with custom integration solutions and are helping customers to implement some of the most important generative AI technologies. You can find them at solved.cloud. That's SOLVD.cloud is the URL. Thanks again, and we'll talk soon.